Sabine, if you are reading this, then you exist. Is that true? I mean, it should be bloody obvious to me, but it isn't. If I invented you, then you don't exist. Right? But how then can you still write to me? I've got to trust logic, or I'm nowhere. If I didn't write your letters and you did, then you're real. But I'm crazy. I'm certain that when all this began, I was making you up. Now you say you're coming here. You scare me. Who are you? Are you my lover? Or are you that dark angel whose picture came through my letterbox yesterday? I cannot stay here to find out. Do you understand? I want you to be the woman I've dreamt of, to see you, to touch you, to be with you. And yet the possibility that you are a malevolent creature, grown from my insanity, appalls me. So I'm running away. As I'm writing this, I presume I must believe you're real. Will you wait for me? Stay in my house. Be my guest. And live here till I return. I'm running from you, but I'm also searching for a way to accept my fate, which I know to be bound with yours. I desperately need your help. I will write with a forwarding address, and if you forgive me my cowardliness, maybe you will write back. Like Ariadne holding the string for Perseus while he enters the Minotaur's labyrinth. Your words might keep me from going hopelessly astray. There, you see how I'm already giving this mythological status. Wanting to salvage my ego. Wanting to look like an adventurer rather than accepting the idea that I'm behaving like a madman hiding from his shadow. Do you remember the card you sent last year telling me of our shared site? I didn't believe you. Then you proved it. And I was frantic with joy. I fell in love with you, and I think you with me. But I mistrusted. Could all my confusion be punishment for lack of faith in you? If I leave, make a journey, I might gain the courage to face you, but now, with your menacing winged card hanging over me, I know I dare not stay another night here. I love you. Gryphon.
Gryphon, I'm not surprised that you fled me. Your recent cards led me to expect an impulsive retreat. But I am saddened that I evoke fear in you. I like your house, and I will be more than content to stay here. I've arranged to be away from the sick months until the end of July. As long as your quest takes no longer than that, you can expect me to be here on your return. Waiting all those years to find out who you were has prepared me for this. A little more waiting will do me no harm. Sabine. Gryphon, why is your studio stripped naked? I used some gold powder and an old Hermé label I found in your kitchen. Do you mind?
Sabine, I feel so much calmer now that I've heard from you. You sound so gentle and tranquil. How could I have imagined that you would be the dark creature I'm so terrified of? When I read your card, I wanted to return home immediately. But I know precisely what would happen if I did. I would go along merrily until I came within sight of my door, then I'd begin to shake like a bone in a dog's mouth. Better I push on. I came to Dublin because it was my grandfather's birthplace, and because of the powerful words that have been written here. And for some reason, this is where my journey begins. I walked in the Wicklow Mountains yesterday and heard a sad music. The slopes were so soft and green that I began to crave cold marble. Tomorrow I fly to Florence. I don't know where I'll be staying. Please, write to me, care of Poste Restante. All my love, Gryphon. Anything in the house is yours to use.
Gryphon, I'm still in the first flush of excitement of being here. I wish I had you to show me around, but I follow my nose and I've seen many amazing things. I think I was prepared for everything except the people. There are so many of them. I tried traveling on the underground train when they were all going to work. It was extraordinary. Bodies pressed together like fish crushed in a net. After one stop, I had to go above ground to feel the sky again. I saw you painting last night. A woman in the mist. He brought you close to me. Sabine. Who does the grey cat belong to? Should I feed it?
Sabine, you speak of London being full of people. Well, Florence has its share too, mostly packs of tourists, determined to get their money's worth by tearing through every museum in the city. But they don't matter, because everything else is soothing to me. The architecture, the sculpture, the land itself are all so magnificent that I'm healed. I must be. Why else should I be so happy? This journey has taken on the character of a pilgrimage. Gryphon Moss pays homage at the altar of his masters. I'm going to stay a few days longer and give myself a chance to see the churches. I had a wonderful, sensuous dream last night. I was at the Palazzo de' Medici talking to Lorenzo himself when you emerged from a smoky wall and enveloped me. I miss you, Gryphon. Having no more printed cards with me, I'm making one-offs, like you.
Gryphon, you gave me an idea. Instead of wandering haphazardly around, I decided to take a tour of London's churches. The big ones, like St. Paul's, I found grand, but empty. Then I came upon one that was different. It was a dark place, steeped in death. As I stood looking at it, I felt its roots running below the city, like a black twin to the underground. Enough playing the tourist. It is time I get down to some work. Italy suits you, my love, but be a little cautious. The eye of the storm is a deceptive place. Sabine. The stamp on the front is a printer's proof, the last I drew up before I left Katie. Camels make me laugh.
Sabine, you were right. Again. As soon as I left Italy, my confidence drained away. Greece is a pleasant enough country, but I'm a total stranger. I imagined being heroic against a perfect blue and white island background. Fat chance. Instead, black clouds are circling around me and I'm getting scared again. Your card didn't help either. Your description of the dark church rang all kinds of unpleasant bells. I need to hold your hand. I'm getting numb. Is this the night before I cross into no man's land? Love, Gryphon. Right, P.O. Alexandria.
Gryphon, your preparations for crossing into no man's land have the sound of a death wish. Why not try to view the next stage of your journey as a transition? Choose reassuring thoughts. Remember, I'm holding the string end, and I won't allow you to disappear into oblivion. I've set up camp at the British Museum, drawing by day and then returning to paint in your studio at night. The museum is cozy. The dust and the narrow shafts of sunlight remind me of my father's study. Keep strong. Sabine. You still haven't told me why your studio is empty. The Sumerian bear on the front is meant to be a hostility symbol, but it looks melancholy to me.
Sabine, you have an unnerving way of being a jump ahead of me. Am I slow, or are you smart? Death wish, you said. It's true, I am preoccupied with death. Not my own, though. As you know, my Aunt Verica's death was a hammer blow to me. I've always passed my parents' death off as insignificant, but now I doubt that it was. How can anyone let his parents go without some regret, some loss? No matter how inept they were at child rearing. Egypt was the next obvious step for me to take. I'm sure you already noticed. My journey is an exercise in walking backwards. There's 3,000 years worth of death here. An art history teacher once told me that the Egyptian word for sculptor means he who keeps alive forever. This seemed to be the perfect place for me. Later. At this point, I stopped to go for a walk, and while I was out, something happened. I was wandering the back streets when I came across an old artifact shop. It was full of relics that I cynically assumed had been made in the past few weeks. I idly rummaged about for 5 minutes, and then out of the corner of my eye, I caught sight of a painting of Anubis, the jackal-headed god of the Egyptian underworld. And reflected in the picture's glass was the figure of a samurai. I spun round to look for the original of this out-of-context reflection, but there was no sign of anything resembling an Oriental intruder. I turned back to the painting and looked again. The image had become more defined, or maybe I was more focused, and I looked into his face. He did not move, but his eyes watched me, and there was a flash of recognition between us. I felt that he was somehow mine, for me, like a bodyguard or a guardian angel. I realize this sounds totally fanciful, but at the time, I was utterly convinced. I returned to the hotel in a state of euphoria. The elation has worn off, but I'm less alone. The figure whose reflection I'd seen in the shop had an aura of absolute self-belief. And for some reason, he is on my side. You might ask why I'm so pleased to have had a vision that goes a long way towards confirming my insanity. I guess I would answer that I have had little trust in my perception of reality for a while now, and accepting an impossibility comes as a relief. Also, I'm chicken, and the idea of traveling with the samurai swordsman as a hidden companion gives me heart. I love you, Gryphon. Please notice, I'm choosing reassuring thoughts. The cat you asked about a while back is Minlouche. He's self-sufficient, comes and goes with the moon.
Gryphon, you must be blessed. In Sigmund mythology, wandering warriors placed themselves at the service of worthy travelers. They are reputed to keep death from becoming greedy. The figure in your painting appears especially formidable, With him around, I know that you'll be able to confront almost any threat. I've been drawing in the museum's Egyptian gallery. The silent stones fill me with awe. They are sublimely sophisticated. The city's neon lights seem naive in comparison, like children's toys. Take heart, Sabine. Minalouche came into the house today. You see, I too have been honored.
Sabine, I was clinging to logic like a life buoy. Now, in the flick of an eye, I'm trying to follow intuition. I see a reflection of a samurai in the glass of a painting, and I come to Japan. Reason is discarded, and I'm just going where the voices of the moment seem to send me. I am the barbarian, stalking the temples of Kyoto for long-departed wisdom. I wallow in the aesthetics, hoping that they will purify the beholder. These are my introspective whimperings. I'm a self-indulgent child. Why can't I grow up? I ask that sincerely. If you know, tell me. If I could draw the way I feel about you, I would. Love, Gryphon.
Gryphon, it seems to me that you are in the process of growing up right now. That, amongst other reasons, is why I'm waiting for you. As for self-indulgence, I think not. This trip is something you must do. I've discovered an ice cream parlor opposite the roundhouse that serves perfect coffee. I'm plagued by the constant temptation to ride the 19 bus to Chalk Farm and drink a cup. Could be sexual frustration. My father had me read Freud. Maybe if you were here, I wouldn't want. Then again, we children might go together. Sabine.
skin of the moon, the creeping cat looked up. Black Minalouche stared at the moon, for wonder and wail as he would. The pure cold light in the sky troubled his animal blood. Minalouche runs in the grass, lifting his delicate feet. Do you dance, Minalouche? Do you dance? When two close kindred meet, what better than call a dance? Maybe the moon may learn, tired of that courtly fashion, a new dance turn. Minalouche creeps through the grass, from moonlit place to place. The sacred moon overhead has taken a new phase. Does Minalouche know that his pupils will pass from change to change, and that from round to crescent, from crescent to round, they range? Minalouche creeps through the grass, alone, important and wise, and lifts to the changing moon his changing eyes.
Sabine, I wished to be somewhere truly old, and thus by various convoluted routes I found myself here, among these bushmen. They're fascinating people. They navigate their land by songs and stories. An elder who has been kind to me took me to meet his mother. She grasped my hand, stared at me long and hard, and then told me that my back was open. She shuffled into her hut and emerged with a feather. And then she began to stroke my back with it. Afterwards, I offered to pay her, but she made sputtering noises, so I gave her a picture I'd done of a twisted tree. This produced a huge smile, and I was much congratulated by those gathered around. Love, Gryphon. Can you still see me? We'll pass through Brisbane. Right there.
Gryphon, I have to own up to something. You're not the only reason that I came to London. I needed to bring the illustrations for a catalogue of the islands to our publisher in Holborn. The major chapters are finished, and our contract entitles us to an additional advance. I had no intention of sending so many years' worth of work through the post. I know too much about the world's postal services to submit my past to the lottery. I arrived this morning at the publisher's green and gold door at 10 o'clock, the pre-arranged meeting time, to see our editor. At 10:30, the receptionist told me that I could go on up. It is odd. Half an hour on Catty would have been nothing, but here I felt manipulated. After getting lost on the various staircases and numerous corridors, I eventually found Mr. McBride in his faded office. I don't know what the man expected, but I was not it. Maybe he thought my father was coming, or maybe my appearance surprised him. Anyway, he became discernibly unnerved. His agitation took the form of an unpunctuated monologue on Paul Gauguin, the rapid offering of 3 different chairs, and the taking of sidelong glances at my body. Eventually, he got around to looking at my drawings and was obviously pleased at what he saw. After a short but careful examination, he called in a grey young woman, and he had to scoop away my precious pictures. Even though it was only 11:15, he then asked me to lunch, mumbling, "Literary necessity, and just part of the tradition." During the expensive and tasteless meal, he tried to seduce me with what I think he's called old-world charm. Needless to say, a fruitless effort. I assume that he and his publishing house will get our book onto the shelves, but I wonder how such an organization can survive in the 20th century. On the bus back, I kept thinking of you. How exasperating you can be. How important your journey is to your survival, and how much I need you. As you move closer to my home, I feel our positions reversing. I'm nervous for us both. London life tires and burdens me. I walk regularly on Hampstead Heath to relieve my eyes of the fearful symmetry. I'd just come back from my walk yesterday, and I was glancing through one of your books when out fluttered a picture of you. You looked maybe 15, gaunt and haunted. Realizing how much I love you, I burst into tears. I have not told you 1/100th of what I hold in my heart for you. I know that your journey has reached a turning point, and I want to give you strength. I have loved you since I was 13, when first I saw your hand moving across that sheet of paper. I have loved you in every manner that my imagination could contrive. I have wanted you so deeply that my body sang with pain and pleasure. You have been my obsession, my passion, my philosopher's stone of fantasy. You are my desire, my longing, my spirit. I love you unconditionally. Do you hear me, Gryphon? Do you see that I cherish you beyond question, that you have nothing to prove to me? You're making your journey to secure yourself. I'm already tethered to your side. If you can love yourself as I love you, there will be no dislocation. You'll be whole. Bring yourself home to me, and I will immerse you in every ounce of tenderness I possess. Sabine.
You have much more faith in me than I do. The openness of your love overwhelms me. Of course, I love you. As for liking myself, possibly I can achieve that when I'm less prone to bouts of self-pity. Part of me desperately wants to go to you right now. But I'm committed to finishing that which I've started. If I am to find my courage and understand the connection between us, then my outward voyage ends in the Sigmunds. With all my soul, Gryphon, I had a revelation. In a moment's daydream, I glimpsed a painting of a mask. I'm certain it was yours.
Gryphon, I'd thought to stay in the city in case you returned suddenly. That seems unlikely now, so I've come out to the countryside near Dorset. I have been in sad danger of confusing London and England, two very different places. I'm sitting on top of the rolling earth mound, known as Maiden's Castle. It is a handmade hill that purrs quietly, like an old slumbering creature. I feel rejuvenated. I hadn't realized what a prisoner I'd become. The area you enter is dangerous. Beware such things as abrupt changes of weather, and never underestimate the sea. Sabine.
Sabine, my obsession with reaching the Sigmunds almost cost me my life. I'd been in Onyara for a week, getting cranky because I couldn't find a ship to take me to Kati or any of the other islands. As you must be aware, the town is not overloaded with distractions. Alternately drinking at the Guadalcanal Club and at the Yacht Club, however nice the thatched roof, as a limited attraction. Finally, on my umpteenth visit to the dock, I found an old sea dog, cliché as it is, I can describe in no other way, who spoke pidgin and who said he would take me to where I wished. His tub, which looked like the African Queen, gave me grave misgivings. But I was determined and desperate to see your home. He wanted to leave immediately, so I ran back to grab my stuff and was aboard before I could back out. In retrospect, I'm not even sure he knew where I wanted to go. It's difficult to be exact in Pigeon. 2 days out from the Solomons, we were hit by a freak wave, and I was catapulted overboard. I don't swim, and I went straight down. But I didn't panic, which was strange. I could see sunlight making exquisite patterns on the water's surface above me. Everything seemed fascinating and very slow. All around me, lionfish darted like golden suns and moons in an alchemist's dream. I looked down to where a vast labyrinth of black seaweed awaited me. An intense misery swelled over me. It was then that I saw, or thought I saw, something quite impossible. Striding through the water and towards the labyrinth came my samurai. He turned and looked towards me, and I stopped falling and became aware of a moment of choice. I could go up or down. I thought of all your trust and patience wasted. It seemed like a cruel and futile end to both our strivings. I raised my head again and saw what I took to be the end of a piece of string. You were true to your word. You would not let me lose myself. As I caught hold of it, my breath expired and I blacked out. When I came to, I was on the boat and the captain was pumping my chest. It was he who hauled me aboard, but it was you who saved me. He brought me back to Honiara and saw me ashore. In the past, I think I might have passed my underwater event off as a hallucination, but now I'm inclined to give it more belief. Perhaps it really happened as I described it. Perhaps the samurai took on the Minotaur and battles with him still in the seaweed labyrinth. It seems I'm not destined to see your homeland. Why is that? I need to let everything drop into place. These and many other thoughts fill my mind while I lie recovering under the gigantic rain tree here at number 9 hospital. Soon I will be home. Gryphon.
Gryphon, you have survived. Are you coming home when your strength returns? Will I see you at last? I alternate between storms of impatience and hills of peace. I draw in Highgate Cemetery, communing with my sisters. I can work there without constant intrusion from people looking over my shoulder. The museum was becoming impossible. I'm trying to concentrate on a series of stone angels for Sigmund's Christmas stamps, though really, I am waiting for you. Love, Sabine.
Sabine, my mind has been clearing steadily. I know who you are, what we are, and what we will be to one another. I will be home on the 23rd, probably the same day that this card is delivered. Gryphon.
Hardly are those words out when a vast image out of Spiritus Mundi troubles my sight. Somewhere in sands of the desert, a shape with lion body and the head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun, is moving its slow thighs, while all about it reel shadows of the indignant desert bird.